Welcome to Community Spotlight. I'm your host, Leah Haslage. Today's Spotlight is on Legal Aid Society, and we'll be discussing public benefits and reentry. Our guests today are staff attorney Jennifer Kinsley and paralegal Russell Hauser, both with Legal Aid Society. Welcome.
Thank you.
So public benefits, just kind of in a broad sense, what does that mean? Like, what's considered a public benefit?
So there's a wide range of public benefits. Most people are pretty familiar with medical benefits like Medicaid and Medicare. Those handle your health insurance and health coverage, prescriptions, medical services. We also have food stamps benefits, which are pretty common. They're formally known as the Supplemental Nutritional Assistance Program, or SNAP benefits, but you can refer to them as food stamps too, just to keep it simple. Those help when people are buying food items, but they can't be used for, say, household items or cleaners or things like that. There are also cash benefits. So Ohio has a program called Ohio Works First. That's our TANF program, Temporary Aid for Needy Families. As the name suggests, those benefits are on a time-limited basis. So you have a 36-month period of eligibility, but in certain situations, you can get that eligibility extended if you meet certain hardships. And then there are also cash benefits from Social Security, so an SSI, and then benefits that are also well known: retirement, disability, disabled adult child benefits. Those may not be as well known, but Social Security implements those benefits as well.
Now, how does Legal Aid Society work with people to protect those benefits?
That's a good question. So Legal Aid, we do a lot of work to help clients protect their benefits. One common thing we do is we represent clients when they have hearings or conferences with Social Security or the Welfare Department. We'll help represent clients, try to argue their case, try to correct any problems that have been overturned, and try to see what we can do to get them on the right track. We also help when it comes to helping clients just apply for benefits initially if we realize that they may be eligible for benefits that they're not currently getting. For example, if you're on SSI, then you're categorically eligible for food stamps as well. That doesn't mean that you're automatically enrolled in food stamps, but it means you are eligible. So if we notice a client is on SSI and they don't receive food stamps, we can help get them information needed and either help them apply or give them information to apply on their own as well.
Oh, that's great. Now, with the reentry process, if someone's been incarcerated, how do they go about applying for public benefits, and are they eligible for public benefits?
So generally, if you're incarcerated for more than 30 days, which means post-sentence incarceration. So if you are in jail either awaiting charges or awaiting a trial, that's not counting against you. But once you have been sentenced to 30 days or more, in either a community-based correctional facility or in a prison, your benefits should suspend. So it's so important that people know that, because any payment that you're getting while you're incarcerated is working towards an overpayment, which means you're going to have to pay that back. So what we tell people is, as soon as they are in there, they should be calling their Social Security office, and there are employees at these facilities who should be helping with this. But if you or a loved one is in this situation, they need to notify Social Security right away so that that is suspended, avoiding an overpayment. And then once you're 30 days away from your release, you can reapply to get those benefits back. Now, the only people who aren't eligible to receive once they're out are people who still have a warrant for a probationary reason. So it would be either you've missed a probation appointment, you've missed a court date, or you're considered in flight. In those situations, those warrants prevent any sort of public benefit. But otherwise, once you're out, you're eligible again to receive your benefits.
So whether you're in a correctional facility or prison, you can apply right away for benefits.
So if you're in a facility, then you can apply once you're within 30 days of being released.
Okay.
So when you're finishing out towards the end of your sentence and you're within that 30-day window, there's facilities that are supposed to have staff members who can help clients access those applications. And there are multiple ways to apply. You can do it through mail, fax. Job and Human Services has a hotline where you can call to apply as well. But like Jen mentioned, 30 days is that window where you can apply during that time. And then it can speed up your application so that way when you're out, you won't have to then wait until that point to reapply.
You're already in.
Yep, things are already rolling, and then you can either go down to the welfare building or Social Security in person and just make sure things are getting processed. They can save you a couple of weeks, which can be a large amount of time.
Yeah, I bet. Now, kind of breaking down the benefits, let's start off with Medicaid. Who is eligible for Medicaid?
Good question. So Medicaid and a lot of other benefits, they depend on 5 eligibility criteria. So age, income, household size, disability, and your resources as well. So with Medicaid, the income limit is 138% of the poverty level, and then the resource limit is $2,000. So if you're under both of those limits, then you're good to go.
What do you mean by resources?
So resources include bank accounts, savings accounts, checking accounts, stocks and bonds, investments, things of those nature. Also some insurance plans too. But everyone's situation is different. So even if you're on the border, we always suggest that people apply just in case.
Now, what about if you've been incarcerated?
So if you've been incarcerated, and you're out, then you're eligible.
Oh.
As long as, like Jen mentioned, there's no warrant for fleeing or anything like that.
Now, have there been any changes to the Medicaid process in the state of Ohio?
So there's 2 changes that we would like to highlight. One was a few years ago with the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. Big change. It increased the Medicaid income limit up to 138% of poverty. So that allowed thousands of people to gain access to medical coverage who didn't have it before that change was made. Another recent change that's a little more recent than that is the push for Medicaid work requirements in certain states. And that can be a big obstacle for a lot of our clients because many people on Medicaid are on it because they have disabilities or other health issues, and they may not even be able to obtain work.
And I would just note that that has not passed yet, and that our office, the Legal Aid Society of Cleveland, has been a part of the process. We have submitted comments against the work requirement. So it is not in place yet, but it is pending legislation.
Now, anything with Medicaid and the application process or just the details about it that you think viewers should know?
The big thing that people should know is you want to keep Job and Family Services updated on any changes, whether you moved addresses, your phone number has changed. A lot of time, if you keep them updated, you can avoid things from going off the rails early on.
Oh, that's a good tip. I'm sure things constantly change too.
And I would also just add that in terms of the reentry community, while you're incarcerated, you aren't eligible for the full Medicaid benefit. But if you are incarcerated and you do need some sort of outpatient where you have to leave the hospital and receive medical benefits, that Medicaid should remain in place and you should be covered should you need to leave the jail for medical care. But other than that, you are not covered during your time of incarceration.
So just if it's an emergency purpose, basically.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Well, this has been great information, and we're going to continue more with public benefits and reentry process when we return right here on Community Spotlight. Stay tuned.
Until all our daughters are safe. Until all our children have families. Until all our families have homes. Until all our parents are cared for. We'll be here.
Hi, I'm Mayor Frank Jackson. You've probably seen media coverage of the growing opioid epidemic in northeastern Ohio. But what you might not know is how many of these tragedies begin with a seemingly innocent prescription for pain medication. That is why we're teaming with the Cuyahoga County Opiate Marketing Task Force to encourage you to know the risk. Go to the website on your screen to learn which pills are opiates and alternative ways of dealing with pain. Which starts as a prescription can end with addiction, so know the risk.
Welcome back to Community Spotlight. I'm your host, Leah Hasledge, and today's Spotlight is with the Legal Aid Society, and we're discussing public benefits and reentry. Our guest today is Staff Attorney Jennifer Kinsley and Paralegal Russell Hauser. So welcome back.
Thank you.
We, before the break, discussed Medicaid. Now let's discuss Medicare. I know we've talked before the show about the difference, and a lot of people, including myself, don't really realize the difference between Medicaid and Medicare. So what's the difference between the two, and then we'll go into Medicare.
Good question. So Medicaid is more strictly based on income and resource limits. For Medicare, it's more based on your age and then your work history as well. However, for Medicare, there are other ways to qualify. So the most common way is once you're over 65, then you're eligible. And if you have a work history and if you're receiving Social Security benefits, then you can get enrolled into Medicare. If you're over 65 and you don't have the work history to qualify for Medicare, you can still purchase Parts A and Parts B. The cost may just be a little bit higher. So it kind of just depends on situation to situation. If you're under 65, you can qualify for Medicare if you've been declared disabled by Social Security. So then you would be within a 2-year waiting period, but then you can get onto Medicare as well.
Now, with the reentry process, similar to Medicaid, is this process the same or is it different for Medicare?
So for Medicare, if you're incarcerated, then your benefits, Part A should continue with no problem. For Part B, though, because it does cost a premium, a lot of the time it's in people's best interest to kind of try to get that Part B suspended. That way you're not being charged with a big bill once you're released.
So it will just start tacking up.
For Part B premiums, those will add up even while you're incarcerated.
Now, what programs are available for people when it comes to Medicaid and Medicare?
We'll start with Medicare since we're already talking about that. Medicare has 4 parts, Parts A, B, C, and D, so it's easy to remember. Part A covers inpatient hospital care, nursing facility care, and hospice care too under certain situations. Part B handles more outpatient care, so if you're seeing a doctor but you're not going to be staying and being admitted into a hospital. Part B also covers medical durable equipment, so things like motorized wheelchairs, ramp lifts for a wheelchair if you're in home. And it also covers ambulance services as well. Part C is a little different. It stands for Medicare Advantage plans. So that's when private insurance companies manage your Medicaid for you, which can provide some advantages, but it can also come with some drawbacks as well. So people want to make sure that they're reviewing all their options because Advantage plans can come with additional premiums and co-payments.
I'd say more of a cost.
Right, yep, that you may not be aware of at first. And then Part D covers prescription health or prescription drugs, so it can provide help with medications and getting your prescriptions. So that's all the programs available for Medicare. And then for Medicaid, there's a pretty wide range of programs and some that we'll highlight that a lot of people may not be aware of. Like we mentioned, for the expansion up to 138%, that's what people refer to as, say, just regular Medicaid, just based on your income and resource limit. However, in households that have children, that income limit to get the children on Medicaid is up to 206% of the poverty level. So even though a parent may be over that 138% of the level, if they still have a child in the household and they're under 206%, they could still be eligible in that situation. And then in addition to children's Medicaid, there's also certain Medicaid available for people who have certain disabilities. It's called SRS Medicaid, Specialized Recovery Resources. And that can provide additional services when people are facing difficulties with certain disabilities.
Now, you touched upon this earlier with changing your address and that, but is there anything else people should be doing or be aware of when it comes to their Medicaid and Medicare?
So there are deadlines, and there's a yearly renewal process. So every year you're going to get something in the mail. It's a form that you have to fill out that basically just renews your ability to be enrolled in the program. And you have to keep a lookout for it. It's only going to come in the mail. And when you get it, our best advice is take it in person to the office. Because when you fax it, if you hit the wrong number or you mail it and no one ever gets it, the best way to make sure that you have renewed your benefits is to walk it into the office. Yep. Mail is by far the last option, just because there are too many ways it can go wrong. And if they don't receive your renewal, you're terminated.
Is that a yearly process?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So you may not even know that they didn't receive it. You know you mailed it, and then you go to the doctor and you no longer have coverage. So that's definitely we recommend when you get it, fill it out right away and take it back.
Yep.
And as always, come see us at Legal Aid if there's any sort of problem with that process, or your benefit amount changes or anything like that.
For sure. And then I mentioned some of the costs associated with Medicare. There's another program that people may not be super familiar with called the Medicare Premium Assistance Program, or MPAP. So that can that's a Medicaid program that helps pay for costs associated with Medicare. So it can help pay for your Part B premium, any deductibles, co-insurance, things like that. People sometimes can be eligible for this program as well. So we encourage people to explore that option too.
Yeah, and that's something a lot of people may not even know about.
Yep.
Right.
I've never heard that term before. What's it called again?
The Medicare Premium Assistance Program. And it's got a couple different names. Medicare's website refers to it as the Medicare Savings Program, but in Ohio we call it the Medicare Premium Assistance Program.
So this does change by state too, which you should point out.
Yep, so different states have different names for benefits, even though a lot of them are the same thing essentially, but they can have different names when you cross state lines.
Now, you mentioned Social Security earlier. If you've been incarcerated, are you still eligible for Social Security and the various things with that?
So it follows the same general rules as other public benefits. Once you've been sentenced, if your sentence is more than 30 days, you're not eligible for Social Security benefits. Once you are released, you return to full eligibility for those benefits, so long as you don't have any flight from prosecution warrants. So your limitation really only is if you're serving a sentence longer than 30 days.
Okay.
Yep. And like Jen mentioned, that can cause overpayments if Social Security is still paying you those benefits while you're incarcerated. So we encourage people, you can write to your local Social Security office, explain to them what's going on. You want to try to stay on top of it and do as much as you can to prevent any overpayment from occurring.
Yeah, because that'd be like the Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, I'm sure child support falls in there as well.
Child support that can also add up while you're incarcerated as well, unless you contact the agency and try to make changes and keep them updated.
So it's always important to stay on top of things.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, is there any additional benefits that you think viewers should be aware of and their eligibility requirements?
Sure. So we talked about a little bit about that children's Medicaid for children. So another one is called PRC. It's called Prevention, Retention, and Contingency. It's basically financial help for emergencies. Say if your car breaks down, if you unexpectedly lost your job, if you receive a shutoff notice for utilities, PRC can provide up to $1,500 a year in financial help to kind of get you back on track until you can get on your feet.
That's wonderful.
Yep, and that's something that's not super common, but it can definitely be a big help. We've had a couple clients who felt like they were out of options a little bit, but that PRC can really be a big help.
So again, something that Legal Aid Society can assist with.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Now, are there any other additional resources that viewers should be aware of when it comes to public benefits in the reentry process?
So obviously we say legal aid. We have a public benefits division, which Russell is a big part of, that will help you review your situation, find out what public benefits you are eligible for, if you're missing anything, if your benefit amount is incorrect. And we service a 5-county area. Obviously, Cuyahoga County is where we're located. We are located on West 6th Street, across from the RTA headquarters. And we also strongly encourage everyone to stop by their Job and Family Services office. They're located in various neighborhoods, and they do have a list of their offices on their website. And you can apply for benefits in person even if you're not sure if you're at the percent of poverty for the specific benefit. You can go through the process, but like we said before, go into the office. There's applications online, there's kiosks, and we really recommend talking with a representative who can explain everything to you and that you can see that you've applied. We recommend getting a copy of your application, getting receipts that you've applied for everything.
Every case is unique.
Right.
Yep. So you want to stay on top of it, though. You want to make sure you're managing your situation as well.
Yeah.
And then some other good resources, like Jen was mentioning, you can find a lot of resources online. Social Security has a lot of pamphlets that are easy to read, easy to digest. They explain things in plain language about your eligibility for certain benefits. Medicare has a pretty good website too. It's a government website, so you can trust everything on there, and they kind of break down your eligibility for certain benefits too.
That's great. Anything else you think viewers should know?
Make sure you come to Legal Aid. If you need any help, we can see what we can do for you.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jen and Russell, so much for being here today. And thank you so much for tuning in to Community Spotlight. We'll have all this information, of course, for you on our website, tv20cleveland.com. Until next time.